Don't miss the call. Download Band. Communication made easy.
Hello, folks, and welcome back to some more collegiate Dota. We got the UCLA Bruins versus the UC Davis Aggies, and once again, I'm Mama Down Under, joined by Gorgon, the Wonder Cow. You sniff in gently.
I'm getting over a little bit of that last game made me sick.
I saw you in the lobby. Gorgon's like, guys, play nice. Like, that storm is not okay.
Yeah, it was honestly a war crime, and I feel like we need to get some international authorities involved. And
It was
all
just.
sorts.
I feel like it was very.
They didn't ban it.
Yeah, they didn't. I expect it to be coming out again.
Actually makes me I feel anger. Like, why would you let that happen to yourself again?
Well, we'll find out. Maybe they have ways of dealing with it, right? They've already picked up a good amount of lockdown here for the Bruins. I don't know how you say that word. I just keep saying it differently each time.
Bruins. I
Bruins?
believe it's the Bruins.
Yeah, that's no. I can't roll my R's. The horrible. I can't roll my tongue. I can't roll my R's. I can't independently raise my eyebrows or blink my eyes.
I can't even do somersaults. That's how
not...
anti-rolling I am.
No, it's just like my face. I think I'm pretty sure I have like face issues. It might just be the way my face looks is the issue. But look, there's a lot of problems.
Be real careful about saying I think I have face issues on a Twitch stream.
Look, I tried to catch it. Yeah, I tried. Anyway, this draft, super interesting already. Shadow Demon Luna, obviously a super common combo. You just make a bunch of illusions, but Earthshaker Witch Doctor, I would actually say it's strong supports, especially for roaming.
Yeah, if you get a Sand King in there for UCLA, like they've got the pure anti-illusion push combo. Unfortunately, it makes them very support heavy or very non-core heavy.
Yeah, Sand King is obviously, he's a core, but he's definitely questionable scaling wise, and you really need to make sure that you are farming to get the Ags or the Aether Lens or whatever it is that you're feeling like. So obviously the Blink as well, but yeah, he does actually require quite a bit of farm. But the Aggies will ban out the Lifestealer, so clearly they thought that was a bit of a pain, and we have a Meepo ban out. So I wonder if the Bruins are more worried about a Meepo over a Storm Spirit.
There's a signature Meepo, there's a signature Tinker, and there's a signature Storm on the Aggies. From memory, as I recall. There's like 2 or 3 other heroes that they play really, really well too. And it's difficult for me to remember because this is all research that I did not do in anticipation of tonight, but I did do when we researched the Aggies for the very first broadcast of the season.
Indeed. But LA, they're going to open with a open this part of the draft. I'm technically correct. With a Centaur. So obviously did receive a little bit of a nerf, or a fix, as I believe the patch actually said, fix. But yeah, I mean, it's still a good initiation there. You can build very tanky. You could build Centaur into a carry still. It's a bit silly, but you can still do it.
It's a little weird to Centaur into Shadow Demon, though, because your Shadow Demon can make illusions of that Centaur, and those illusions will return damage. So, it's like, you're giving your opponents the potential to return damage to you in fights and make it difficult for you to deal with stuff. Centaur does set up on a defensive disruption really well, to the credit. But once again, you're kind of running into an issue of, similar to the Sand King, Centaur, he just doesn't provide a lot of that right click that you really need somebody to do. And right now, they've got nobody for that.
Yeah, I'm definitely kind of, what is the plan here for UCLA? They have a lot of lockdown so far. That's one good thing, right? They should have a lot of control in these fights. And I have to say the Pudge feels a little bit interesting. You can't as easily set up hooks with Shadow Demon's Disruption, right? You actually need to do good work with this Pudge here, so I wonder if it's a second support. Maybe they might run it in a core role. There are some teams that do that.
So you can run a Shadow Demon Pudge and set up, but it is, like you said, very difficult to do. It's usually better to try and set up with the Demonic Purge, to be honest, but obviously you have to wait till weeks for that. Death Prophet coming out here. She's the most increased pick hero in pubs this week. She is definitely on the rise.
Okay,
at least in terms of pubs.
What caused that?
I'm not 100% sure.
I don't believe there were.
There were no major changes. She might have gotten some pro play that over the
it's Halloween. She's spooky.
Yeah, there you go.
Happened.
Spooky Halloween. Ooh. But you know, Death Prophet is one of these heroes that provides a lot of push potential. She's not a hero that ever really was bad. She just kind of fell out of favor, partially because early pushing fell out of favor. And the other thing is that was ever since they added Spirit Siphon and took out Witchcraft, doing the Exorcism at level 6 is much less popular. You usually are going to get Exorcism level 1 around 9 or 10, which means that you're not going to be able to push that early with her anyway. She really needs to dominate her lane in order to utilize her well.
Yeah, I definitely like the... I think in general the Spirit Siphon change to Death Prophet really kind of flipped around what the hero does, in that she can be also much more aggressive and impactful in a fighting way early. And she is actually very difficult to gank in lane, because if you send 2 supports to go and deal with her in mid, suddenly she's Spirit Siphoning off of a bunch of people and getting right back up. Now, of course, if she gets hooked into a bad spot, this doesn't quite apply.
It might still apply, depending on where she gets hooked to, but... yeah, it used to be that a Death Prophet would... the whole idea of running a Death Prophet is you sit her mid, and you have supports making so much trouble in the other lanes that the other team's mid has to rotate away from the lane to help somebody else. And that's Death Prophet just pops Exorcism, takes the mid tower. Then you sit her bottom, and you have the supports making so much trouble in the off lane that everybody has to rotate over there, and she just takes a tower by herself. And then you just snowball from there. Because of some changes to gold mechanics, and as we mentioned, also changes to the hero, she is much more combat effective now. Oh, really, Huskar, no Dazzle, no Oracle. Interesting.
I mean, they got a little bit of that voodoo that you do, and yeah, it's an interesting game to pop the Huskar into, but I think certainly has ways of punishing a Timbersaw, and that's something.
He's really good against the Sniper, too, because you close that gap so quickly.
Yeah.
Right, you just, all of a sudden Sniper is taking damage and he really doesn't want to be in a close position. Also, Huskar's ultimate is, technically speaking, a non-disjointable projectile, which is great at chasing Timbersaw down. But doesn't really do anything against the illusions. In fact, they don't really have an answer to illusions other than Earthshaker's ult. So, slow sieges with Shadow Demon Luna are still a threat. Huskar also a little vulnerable to the pure damage of Timbersaw and Pudge. So there are a couple of issues with that.
5 seconds remaining.
Yeah, it's an interesting Huskar pick. It really is. It's not what I was maybe expecting as their core, But I think if you can get a lot of farm on a Huskar, you can always make good things happen. On the other hand, for UC Davis, the synergy between their lineup just seemed a little bit easier to see. You know, Timbersaw may be causing trouble in the back line. You can have Luna and Sniper seeding the tower, even Shadow Demon to help out if they're having trouble getting up close.
Yeah. Alright, so neither team aggressively teleporting out. This is the first time we've seen both teams do a very more pub-friendly standard walkout and see. It looks like UCD looking to get a first blood with this Pudge. And Luna did go for a Lunar Blessing open as well. Yeah, they really want to get some combat happening. Unfortunately for them, the entire UCLA cast is going for the bottom rune with this similar idea.
Yeah, it's always fun to see both teams looking for action, but unfortunately just in the wrong spot. It's a little bit interesting that they kind of didn't send Pudge to one, you know, and then the rest to the other. Sometimes you just have Pudge around, maybe causing problems with the hook, but it's going to be pretty average. Looking around at wards that we have up, because that's another interesting thing. Have we already placed one? The battle begins. No, Timber is just already taking his... He wants to place his bottom. I wasn't sure if they would still give one to the off laner if he's in the safe lane, technically.
UCD looks to be breaking into a push lane here. That's a very interesting... Well, this Pudge getting ready to position himself for an early hook start, maybe? No, he's just getting the ward up. This would be a very difficult place for a Huskar to be. It looks like UCLA may have even read it and put their Huskar offlane instead. Or maybe, no, UCLA just love aggressive tri-lanes and decided to run aggressive this time too.
Yeah, I think it's kind of funny, both sides swapping. I'm not sure what each side wanted necessarily. I don't know if Davis was like, hey, I think they're going to be aggro, but this lane, oh, they might actually be able to get first blood on Timber. He, for some reason, has Whirling Death level 1. I say for some reason, but he almost takes out Huskar, unfortunately. He will be going down. Huskar takes some damage, gets the salve knocked off, though. And Shaker's going to go, what are you doing, man? I gave you that salve. Told you to protect it.
It was a gift, and he broke it immediately. Yeah, that was a moment where Timbersaw, I think, didn't have anything leveled, and then leveled Whirling Death to try and turn that fight. Got himself into a position where, had he gotten one more right click, had he done that slightly earlier, he probably would have gotten the first blood. But that was narrowly avoiding a disastrous turnaround for UCLA.
This does mean that Timber, of course, at a little bit of a disadvantage, but he has that Timber chain up now, so he should be feeling a bit more mobile. And once he hits level 3, it gets really hard to catch him out with just how much distance Timber chain gives.
Yeah. I do like this aggressive tri-lane for UCD, but they really do have to be getting kills. Really with any aggressive tri-lane, but especially if you're just going to sink a Pudge up here. This is a hero that gets absolutely nothing if he's not getting kills.
Yeah, so we've actually been seeing Pudge I feel like in the Americas, in the professional scene, there's been some Pudge picks in odd places, and I talked to some of the players about it afterwards, because I was like, do you really think this is super viable? I saw some Pudge support, some Pudge cores, and they basically echoed that. The Pudge has to get kills, otherwise you are down a hero going into mid-game, because you're expecting those flesh stacks, but also just the impact of the hero. And speaking of impact, there might be a little bit of a fissure behind a Sniper, and oh no, he just walks around him! Earthshaker thought he was blocking that, but unfortunately Sniper able to just walk right around.
Yeah, the flesh heap that you mentioned is really, really vital for the mid game, because Pudge does a lot of damage to himself, but moreover he has to tank a lot of damage, because he really has to be the focus of the other team. If he's not getting kills early, that means he's just not going to have the HP to stand and fight in the mid game, and really just shuts down his whole team. Like, who else is here to tank? Timbersaw is very mobile. He'll tank a little bit, but he's not going to stand in the opposition. Luna is extremely vulnerable to burst damage and right click damage, especially through the mid game.
Oh, nice fissure in bottom lane again. They were doing quite a bit of bone damage, and this should be the death. Timber tries to deny himself, but a smack there from Earthshaker ensuring his death.
Yeah, this aggressive tri-lane not working out so well for them so far in UCD, and the Timbersaw really getting shut down very, very hard down here.
Yeah, really nice job by UCLA, making a making a stab at a comeback in this lane. We're going to see Leaf just trying to walk away from biology here. There will be the disruption. Luna does have the Q, but other than that... Oh, they want the hook. They get the hook, and Leaf will be going down.
There we go. One kill.
Yeah, unfortunately, Sniper has to be careful, right? In mid, he may be targeted soon.
Yeah, there is a smoke and Knight. This is the perfect time to rotate onto a Sniper. He himself is a very vulnerable, especially for close range, and a Fissure can come from this all the way across and give him nowhere to go.
Yeah, unfortunately, just because of lane positioning, it wasn't the best of times to go for it. Timbersaw will take that bounty away. While they do manage to fissure him up, he has a chain up onto the high ground. They know where he is thanks to Spirit Siphon, and there's going to be a little bit of a stun. He has another chain, not super far away. No mana for fissure, so they will have to back off on the Dire, and that's just unfortunate.
Huskar is on top of the net worth, though, by about 200 over the Luna, which is a really decent place to be for UCLA. This is another momentum-based hero that, if he gets some decent start, like, he should be able to chew through even the Pudge fairly effectively.
Yeah, I mean, that's just credit to Huskar's gotten 2 kills, one of them First Blood, but doing a good job on UCLA, and even understanding that Huskar can somewhat deal against the Timbersaw since he has the level advantage, although I say somewhat deal, and there's the hook. Nice. It lands again. Was this hooker the Marana? Is that what
Yep.
Yep. Okay. Well, as you can see, similar skill sets coming into play.
Unfortunately, not quite enough to get the Huskar because they have no stun. In fact, they drafted no hard, reliable stun. They do have the Pudge ult eventually, and they have the Loosen Beam that's a mini stun, but that's all they have to their names.
Mini stun's definitely better than nothing, but of course it is 6 seconds cooldown. You can get a TP out in between those, especially if you know Pudge isn't super nearby. Another Fissure going out onto Timbersaw. He'll try to chain away. They do have Pudge on the right-hand side, though, for Davis, so see if they want to make something happen. They really can't, it feels like, into this tri-lane.
The most he'll ever be able to get is about this rock from that side, unless he tangos in deeper or into more shallow.
Oh, woods. And they go for the dunk. There's immediately going to be a TP. Huskar needs to walk it off, but here comes the hook. Pure damage, and oh, he tries to eat the Fairy Fire, but it's not enough. We also have an Indiz Shadow Demon down here. Now Earthshaker trying to deal some damage to the Pudge. Shadow Demon is trying to save him, and Pudge denies himself. Shadow Demon does have 2 stacks up onto Earthshaker, but that's going to be that. And, well, okay fight from both sides-ish.
Well, the deny and the Pudge makes that really quite good for UC, right? There was a nice kill on that Huskar, who was the top net worth. Now it's the Luna. You got the Pudge deny, but he was still around for the experience.
Yeah, they did manage to catch the Timbersaw. I didn't quite catch how. I'm guessing a Fissure, maybe a little... Because Timbersaw seemed to be super deep, but maybe he came back out either way.
Yeah, either way, the Timbersaw is not that much of a prize right now, because he's already died twice before that fight, 3 times now. He's not worth very much, and he's not a very core part of this team's strategy, to be honest. They do need him to eventually get up to where he's able to actually fight, but presumably the Luna is going to frontline and help knock down towers very early, and because of that, he'll have a surge of catch-up gold earlier than the Timbersaw normally does, coming from towers.
Dire's top tower is under attack.
Yeah, UC Davis is something that you really do need to worry about if you're LA, is just the whole Shadow Demon Luna. It's such a solid combo, and it doesn't need a lot. We can actually see Shadow Demon is skipping any points in the Soul Catcher to max out that disruption, because that's what you need. Going into mid-game, you will melt towers with a Luna.
Yeah. And honestly, in my personal assessment, a little bit of Soul Catcher would be a very, very, very good skill here for the mid-game because the pure damage by Pudge.
Yeah.
Because the pure damage is really valuable against Huskar, right? The magical damage of the Shadow Poison against Huskar is not going to be that nice. And honestly, getting a lot of stacks is kind of difficult. But getting 1 Soul Catcher makes a hero just absolutely melt. I think it's a really undervalued skill, to be honest.
I don't disagree, but I understand if for this lineup they really just want to max the disruption. I've seen...
Yeah, so I see the max disruption, but some levels of Soul Catcher over max Shadow Poison seems like a prudent choice to me.
Sure. I would not super disagree with that. I'm also wondering, considering that you are planning on doing, most likely, a lot of disrupting of the Luna here, do you bother to go for the Helm, or do you just Yasha and then begin pushing?
Yeah, I think you probably go for the Helm, at least to that stack, Ancients, right? Because you have a Sniper who's pretty farm dependent as well, and you're not going to want to be soaking up as much of the lane as you would require without it. This is going to be a dead Centaur. Leaf Eater got way too aggressive there. I'm not sure if you caught that.
I did not. I was not expecting it, and we will see the murder, as you said, and we saw Luna's ult comes out, and Leaf Eater, it looks like maybe he popped the ult thinking he could kill, or was he trying to pop it to escape?
Yeah. So what happened was he was standing very close to Luna, and he started edging away from creeps at the Luna, and popped his ult to double edge. And then he tried to get the hoof stomp, but the Eclipse was already out. The big problem that Leaf Eater ran into there was that he edged out away from his own creeps to try and aggress on the Luna, and it telephoned in, or it telegraphed in, that he was going to make that move.
Yeah, you just can't up against a Luna. She'll just press R.
Right, and that's exactly what happened. She just pressed R, and the game was over.
Yeah, that's kind of Luna's other, maybe some advantage that LA can take. Luna, she isn't very scary when that ult's down, and it is quite a long cooldown. So maybe they can make something happen around that.
But the problem is, if she's not scary, the best thing you're going to do is trade, because you're going to ignore her while she's taking your top tower, as she is.
Oh, okay, we have a super deep dive in middle. There's also the hook, one more. Oh no, she's spirit siphoning up. They will get her finally, but that took quite a bit of effort. Now, 4 heroes in middle for Davis, so they will have to sack this bottom tower.
Yeah, they already got top tower, though. In fact, UCLA didn't even glyph it, so...
Yeah, now we're seeing the disruptioning begin. Actually, this Shadow Demon only 2 points in the disruption and maxing out Shadow Poison. I now fully agree with you. I was expecting the maxing of the disruption, but perhaps UC Davis have a different plan that they will...
This is a very standard metagame Shadow Demon build, right? The max Shadow Poison, because people really like the sudden damage that comes from the snap of the Shadow Poison stacks, and it is a lot of damage potentially. But realistically, with the mana pool that a Shadow Demon has, you're not going to get more than 3 stacks throughout most of the mid game, if that. Meanwhile, if you max Soul Catcher and Disruption, you're able to do a 50% damage pure to an opponent if you have an ally attacking him. Right?
Yeah,
like you kill him 50% faster. That's insane.
I feel like it's a bit of the pub versus team mentality shift. If you trust your team, you can put points in Soul Catcher. If you don't trust your team, well, you expect that you might have to do all the heavy lifting.
Yeah.
So, either way, Centaur headed up top, looks to be working on a pipe.
I mean, the one other thing that you get out of Shadow Poison max that you don't get out of like splitting or doing Soul Catcher max is that you are able to deter on towers, which is important in this game, right? Because you're able to do that damage to many heroes, not just the one hero. So it does largely depend on how they want to play it, but since boy, mid
Centaur ult, they are trying to make it work onto the sniper. He is going to get dunked there, brought down, no saving him, even with the Pudge around, and a nice pick off by LA.
Yeah, Pudge is going to try to get a kill on the Huskar. Nope, he's backing up now. Yeah, so, but with a Pudge on your team, you would expect that there's going to be a lot of attempts to get individual kills fast, rather than doing a lot of this like crowd control. I don't know. I see the decision. I recognize that it's a very popular decision of players that are much better than me. I kind of disagree with it in this case, especially with the Huskar, who's getting a little out of control. Now, with an armlet, he's close to the top net worth.
I mean, Huskar doing a really good job of taking advantage of, for lack of a better way to phrase it, being a Huskar. He's being a nuisance, now going in onto Luna. She can drop her ult, but it's into a Huskar. She doesn't realize, oh, he has 3 points in that Berserker's Blood, and yeah, Huskar will easily get the kill.
Yeah, and it was smart of her not to pop that, because she would not have killed him. especially with the armlet that he can toggle through.
So we're beginning to see Huskar coming online. Davis grouping up to either push mid or the tower. On the upside for them, they have a good amount of towers pushed, though it's actually symmetrical. Take a look at it.
Yeah, that's really not that big of an upside for them because they have a Luna. They should be pushing much faster than UCLA, right? Exorcism is still level 1, and it only recently has come up. I don't even think we've seen an Exorcism yet. So they shouldn't be in a position where they're being forced to trade. They should be in a position where they are dominating forceful pushes. And they really haven't been. They slow push top, and then they were able to take mid, but they traded in both cases.
A little bit worrying for the supports as well. Oh, we just saw Pudge level up, but we were at the 13.5-minute mark, and both supports were still only level 5. Yes, you can definitely argue that Pudge is a very reliant on getting kills roaming support, but the Shadow Demon really could have been either farming the jungle or farming with teammates, and it is worrying when you realize, hey, we have such little experience on our supports.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that is one of the benefits of the Shadow Poison build that you really have to utilize in order to justify it, in my opinion, is that you can get catch-up stacks in the jungle with Shadow Poison, right? They haven't really done that. They are pushing more towers, but they are trading again. Exorcism down bottom will create another tier 2 for tier 2 trade.
I think this is a really nice push coming out from UCLA. The only downside, of course, being that Death Prophet doesn't have level 2 in Exorcism yet. There's going to be a nice hook onto the Witch Doctor into some shrapnel, so Witch Doctor taking a lot of damage will fall here. Exorcism is going to go down, and they did get half damage on this tier 3. But unfortunately, I wonder if that would have been a little bit more effective if Death Prophet were 2 levels up.
Dire's top tower is under attack.
Yeah, this is... UCD really need a couple of big kills to go their way in order for this to snap back in their direction. They don't necessarily have... I guess, in theory, their late game is a little... Death Prophet hits a ceiling at a certain point. Centaur goes late well, but he doesn't really give you that carry potential. And Huskar needs to maintain momentum if he falls off.
This Luna was in the danger zone. She is going to TP away. Pudge now in a lot of trouble. Dia uses the scan. They will charge after him. Pudge most likely just going to die here. If he's very lucky, he can get off a deny, but that's very difficult when stunned. So Pudge
it's also very
down.
difficult with the burning spears doing damage. Right?
I haven't been showing people the burning spears debuff. It has my favorite debuff in the entire game.
You are on fire.
All in capital letters. We'll show that to you guys in one of the fights and completely ignore the action. Just how you all like it. But this will be another bit of a push coming out for UCLA. I don't think this is bad timing at all. They have a level 11 on Death Prophet. If they can, before her next Exorcism is up, knock down maybe a tier 1.
Knock down tier 2.
Yeah, and then suddenly you're threatening high ground again. And Huskar's still a problem.
Yeah, and the Luna is going to come out here in the bottom lane. They are going to trade a tier 1 for tier 1 again, but once again, with a Luna, especially a Luna and Shadow Demon, you do not want to be trading. And you don't want your Luna to be sharing experience with your sniper either. That's really bad.
There's going to be no contest. There will be a hook, but Pudge just trying to delay things. They're also trying to go for the push. Without Exorcism, it's not the fastest of pushes coming out from LA, but Davis weren't even working on the tower yet. So now, here we go. UC Davis, they need to come home or realize that they might be taking quite a lot of damage, maybe even losing a Rax here. The tower should melt with his Exorcism. Sniper is back. There's going to be the glyph. Shrapnels have been laid down. A nice hook again, but Centaur just stuns them. Manages to throw out his ult. He's going after the sniper, who immediately invises so that he cannot be endangered. Leaf going to fall here. And that does look like it'll be the end of the push, but a third of the tower gone. They're looking to fight on Davis. Not an easy way to catch up. I'm not sure they get this. They're still going for it. A beautiful fissure coming out from the Earthshaker. Gonna slow things down at least a little bit. Another nice stun. The Echo Slam. It manages to hit onto 2. Can they find themselves some more Death Ward flying around? But unfortunately hitting on the reactive armored target. And now Pudge getting very low. Drops that ult as Sniper tries to shoot away. Sniper has gone invisible, but it'll go down to the Spirit Siphon anyway. Timbersaw in the meantime picks up one on the back lines. and it is Death Prophet against the world. She does get Pudge. She's trying to work onto Timbersaw, and while all of this is happening, Luna up in their base. Buyback force from Huskar. Luna just gonna go for the TP away. Can he get enough Burning Spears? It does not look like it. Death Prophet still fighting up against Timbersaw, but the forced buyback out of Huskar, really painful.
Yeah, UCLA probably should have just fought that while the exorcism was up, right? Like, they ran very, very far away, then decided to re-engage when the exorcism was coming down. Had they run to, like, here and then re-engage while they still had, like, 20 seconds of exorcism, that fight probably would have been a little bit faster and a little more favorable.
Radiant's top tower is
Yeah,
I think they expected that they could outrun their opponents, and when they realized they couldn't, decided, like, well, it's better to take a trade than to just die while running.
Yes.
Yeah, these decisions are really hard to make on the fly, right? You also, maybe some of you were intent on running and some of the team isn't, so it's wasn't a great fight for LA. It does start to put them at a disadvantage, as we can see from the net worth and experience graph, but they're not out of it yet. Now, if they can get this...
I mean, they're definitely still in the game, but that gives Luna a huge step up that she didn't have before, right?
Yeah.
A tower advantage that she didn't have before. She got a clear stack, or a stack of ancients free out of that fight as well. Huskar will have the Aegis for the next one. That's going to help, but if UCLA make one more large mistake like they just made, they're going to have no outer tier towers left at best.
They're gonna shoot Huskar
Wow.
in the face. He's not gonna care about it because of his
Pudge is going to try
passive.
to take the Aegis.
Yeah, but he's gonna miss
Oh,
and
no.
instead get a Centaur Hoofstomp off the mark, and I think everything returns to chilliness. Actually, as I say that, we have Timbersaw being chased a little bit here. Death Prophet does have Silence up. She might be able to get it off here. She hasn't thrown it out yet. They're going to stun him. There goes the Silence. Spirit Siphon as well. One more Crypt Swarm, but it's going to be the deny from Timber.
I've got to say, if that Pudge had managed to take the, that would have been after.
Yeah, if Pudge had gotten the Aegis, it certainly would have really changed things around here. Devastating a bit for LA, but they managed to keep it on Huskar. And again, even though they didn't get the kill on the Timbersaw, he does end up losing Bloodstone charges. That was a relatively new Bloodstone, so it's damaging.
Alright, so March of 4 coming out and getting ready to both de-ward and maybe engage if they can find somebody, but that ward giving away their position. They really need to use the smoke that they have if they want to march around this full.
I think Centaur's going for it now, the Blink Dagger, but I'm really not a fan of this no initiation ability Centaur build that's gotten popular, and that was not seen at the time.
Yeah, I think the theory here is that the Earth is going to be your initiator, so you don't need two. I can see that, especially with... Well, no, I lied. I can't really see that.
I feel like
some
more
games,
initiation is always good, so it's just kind of like, oh, the dire scan does hit, but she's gonna be TP'd away! Oh, that's unfortunate. They just missed. Centaur ult may have gotten them to close the gap in time, but it's hard to say.
They did get the courier, but it didn't have anything on it, so it's not that big a game. That's an okay return, honestly. Not really what you want, but it's not that bad. They are burning Aegis time.
Yeah, I mean, this is fine for Davis. I think, unfortunately, the courier did go down, but you are still farming around the map. At some point, your Luna becomes big enough that she is a problem for the Huskar to be one.
Yeah, I think if you are UCD, you're happy prolonging this game because your Timbersaw is going to become fiercer as time goes by, whereas your opponent's Death Prophet is going to hit a ceiling. Your Sniper is going to get fiercer as time goes by, whereas the opponent's Centaur is not going to scale quite as well. And your Luna is going to become a better pusher as time goes by, even if she herself doesn't become that much fiercer.
So, for Davis, they are looking for making something happen. It's actually interesting, they have Luna just way up in the top all alone, but the rest of their players kind of posturing.
Yeah, this is... You can tell that UCLA are not very comfortable with the current game state by how much they're dancing around right now. They were very comfortable just charging in and trying to force trades and fights up until about 20 minutes when they had that big 4-for-4 trade. Yeah, that really swung the game around in a way, at least in terms of the mentality these teams seem to be bringing to the table. UCD feeling very confident.
Okay, they almost managed to catch out the sniper, but instead they're just going to go on the tower. The Aegis is still up on the Huskar for a little bit. I completely agree with you.
Oh no!
What?
They used the exorcism. They committed exorcism while the Luna split pushing top. They're going to loot trade tier 3 and bottom.
Well, that's going to be the Aegis. Sniper is very low. The exorcism will help them get the kill onto Pudge, but as you said, down bottom, racks are exposed, range being taken, and Luna working on the range as well. Pudge has brought back. He's trying to delay things. There's going to be the first racks going down in favor of the Luna, and the bottom racks has as well. Exorcism still hasn't taken down even the tower. They are still fighting Pudge as well, who brought back there. He will go down for a second time, but Exorcism is gone. The pushing power of the Dire also gone along with it, and Luna just got a full set of racks in the top lane, while bottom is just being worked on by the creeps. We're going to see a kill onto Earthshaker. Timbersaw looking for more. They managed to bring down Centaur as well. She is Death Prophet, very, very tanky, but she will fall. And that may just have been the nail in the coffin for UCLA.
Yeah. Committing that exorcism was a huge mistake there, because you guarantee UCD that your team is not willing, right? Well, we're going to see Timbersaw go down here. And maybe the Luna as well.
Down. No, actually, Huskar backing out. I'm a little bit surprised, deciding that he can't fight that one.
He also didn't try to toggle there. The armlet. Weird. Anyway, that aside, like, when you commit the exorcism at the tier 2, you're basically saying we definitely won't teleport back to our base until this tier 2 falls, and we probably won't teleport back at all. We're probably going to try to take high ground. And the Luna was visible coming up on the siege from the base. So by committing that exorcism, they basically just guaranteed the Luna that you have free passage to do whatever you want up here.
It was a really good decision-making from UC Davis, and I think it just shows a little bit more experience. We're going to see buybacks coming out, but unfortunately this is about to be Megas. You cannot stop the Luna at this point, even with your Hurricane Pike. Huskar getting very low just to the bouncing. Glaives Luna with the ult as well, ripping through 2 heroes. She's looking for more, trying to turn it around to pound away at Huskar. Shows up that BKB, slows him down. A beautiful hook kills off the Witch Doctor. The Sniper ult going to do very little. Luna finally, with the help of the Timbersaw, brings down the Huskar and the other supports there thanks to Blade Mail. Oh, actually, Timbersaw does end up going down. Luna just deep in their base. She's maybe gonna think about fighting into this Exorcism Death Prophet because she hits like a truck. A nice Yule's coming out. Luna getting very low there, and she will be fine. Is she really gonna get away with this? Earthshaker has something to say about that. He has a fissure in 1 and manages to get the kill, but there are already Mega Creeps headed into UCLA's base.
Sorry, they're all single target damage. They have absolutely no response to supers in multiple lanes, let alone megas. So this is really just an inevitability. Their only hope is if that exorcism hadn't been used and they were somehow able to push down mid, and there were no buybacks, and they were able to skip barracks and go for third round.
And Timbersaw wants to get his murder on. Only 7 bloodstone charges, so trying to find a way to amp that up. Will not, but this is, it's going to be a tough road out of here for UCLA if they're going to find a way. They're probably over 20,000 net worth behind, and it looks like only 14,000 experience, but that's still pretty deep in the hole.
You could give UCLA 0 net worth disadvantage right now. Like, you could just dump on them 17,000 gold. They don't have the heroes to come back.
Oh gosh, Leaf is dying to the creeps. He very nearly goes down there. Timbersaw as well. Gonna pick off the Huskar, and that's almost their lost legs. GGs are cold.
Yeah, that's really unfortunate that that trade decision that UCLA made. They made so many good trade decisions through the early game that really was looking like they were going to out-strategize their opponents, which is not something that happens against the Aggies often. But that one trade up top really set the tone for a loss.
I really do think LA played that one well, way better than the first game. I also think that, as you said, there was just kind of that unfortunate decision which really shot UC Davis up. But either way, well played to both teams. As you said, Davis, a really strong team coming into this, and UCLA not looking too bad themselves either.
No, I mean, they are a solid team. You can tell. The Aggies, I mean, UC Davis are just clearly one of the better teams that we have here, one of the higher individual skill teams, and I think in order to beat them, teams are really going to have to bring much better communication, and it did not feel like UCLA were bringing that today. They a couple of times, including that one really critical, pivotal fight in the top lane where they were trading and they had the exorcism going, but they were still running away. That was a clear communication issue, right? That entire situation could have been mitigated if they just were all on the same page. And that is maybe the lesson to learn for any team going up against UC Davis for the rest of this portion of the season, is that probably your best chance at beating them is be better communicators, because they have very, very high individuals.
Again, well done to both teams. And that's going to be it for the night. Before we head out, thank you to Band Gaming, the official app of the CSL. There you can set up all of your gaming and social needs via them. And also thank you to Twitch. Both of those providers helped us put all of this together. So thank you to our sponsors. Gorgon, any final words before we head out for the night?
No, good games from both UCLA and UC Davis. So I'm looking forward to seeing both of these teams throughout the season.
Well, with that, folks, good night. See you next time.
Ben, Sam, and Ken are on separate journeys to defeat the menacing Vile Dragon. But let's just say luck isn't on their side. If only there was a way for them to find each other and band together. Well, that's why there's Band. It's a mobile app that allows people to come together using common interests. With Band, you can find fellow gamers, chat, schedule gaming sessions, and conduct polls. Stage epic battles with friends while sharing videos and photos along the way. So try Band today. Band. Be together.